Want to get an advantage over the sportsbooks during the NBA and NHL playoffs? How about an inside edge this MLB season? You need to download BetQL, the only app you'll need to make smart bets. Their best bet algorithm scans over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you the best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and gives you the reasoning behind why you should make that bet. BetQL also has tons of other tools like sharp data so you can see who the pros are backing and line movement so you can jump on betting opportunities in real time. Plus, you can save all your picks in one place and track your success and winning streaks as well as view your rank on their leaderboards. Head to the App Store or the Google Play Store now to download BetQL. You can also head to the link found in the description of this video and in the pinned comment. Enter the discount code Johnny at payment checkout for 25% off of any of their subscription offerings. Also check out their Sportsbook offers page if you live in one of the eligible states to claim free offers upon signing up at one of the many sportsbooks listed. Don't miss out on your chance to be your sportsbook this summer. Isaiah Thomas was a big game performer and a fighter to the very end, and this is just another great example of that. In the first round of the 1984 NBA playoffs in an elimination game, Isaiah had one of the strongest finishes the league has ever seen, as he caught absolute fire and scored a blazing 16 points in the final 94 seconds of the game. He was barely 23 years old at the time of this performance, but it was definitely a sign of things to come from Zeke. Despite Isaiah's all-time great performance, New York did go on to win the series, and they certainly earned it, as the great Bernard King averaged 42.6 points and 8 rebounds on 60.4% shooting over the course of the series. LeBron James describes himself as a pass-first player, and although he is a great passer, I find that claim somewhat questionable considering the fact that he averages roughly 20 shots a game over the course of his career. Regardless, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, and let's say he is a pass-first player. So with that being said, what would it take LeBron to achieve the ultimate pass-first record? I'm talking about John Stockton's #1 ranking in career assists. Well, throughout LeBron's career, he has averaged 538 assists per season, so if we assume that LeBron James maintains his average over the next 11 seasons, and even if he plays until he's 47 years old, he will still be short of John Stockton's all-time record. This means he'll have to play and maintain his level of production into his 30th season in the NBA if he wants to catch John Stockton. With all that being considered, I honestly don't know what's more unlikely, that LeBron actually plays that long, or that anyone ever takes this record from John Stockton. Only 2 players in NBA history have reached 1,500 points and 400 assists in each of their first 9 seasons of their career. Unsurprisingly, the first is Oscar Robertson, and the second is a streak that's still active from the great Damian Lillard. Shaquille O'Neal and Hakeem Olajuwon squared off in a colossal battle during the 1995 NBA Finals. The Houston Rockets went on to sweep the Magic in 4 games, but both centers played extremely well, putting up these incredibly monstrous numbers over the course of the series. Despite Hakeem's team winning in just 4 games, Shaq wasn't convinced that Olajuwon was actually the better individual player, and was determined to prove himself as the better big man. So Shaq then sent this letter to Olajuwon challenging him to a game of one-on-one. Hakeem actually accepted the challenge, and the hype began to swirl around the basketball world. This was such an anticipated and expected event that there was even television ads to promote the showdown.
It will be the heavyweight battle of the year. Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, one-on-one. 10 rounds, $1 million. Shaq, Hakeem, one-on-one. Saturday, September 30th, live on pay-per-view.
Unfortunately, Hakeem Olajuwon injured his back leading up to the event, and the matchup had to be cancelled just a day before they were set to square off. Shaq was later asked in an interview if he thought Hakeem was just looking for an excuse to back out, and the Diesel said, "When I heard that Hakeem couldn't do it, I was like, cool. Hakeem's not the guy who I'd say, he's scared. 1, I know he's not scared. 2, if he could do it, he would do it. But if it was Christian Laettner, I would have said he's scared." As usual, Shaq never misses an opportunity to throw a little shade at another big man. Of all the wing players who shot at least 50% from the field, Michael Jordan has the 2 highest scoring seasons in NBA history. Any guesses on who the next highest scoring wing is who shot over 50%? It's the prolific, stylish, and the lethal George the Iceman Gervin. Generally, when people think of the 1992 Dream Team, the three faces that usually come to mind are Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson. But if there was an MVP of the Basketball Olympic Games, then Charles Barkley probably would have been the winner of that award in the 1992 Olympics, as he easily led the Dream Team in scoring at 18 points per game. He was first in field goal efficiency at 71.1%, and he was third in rebounds. That should tell you all you need to know about how good Charles Barkley was, as he was arguably the best player on the court as he represented what is possibly the greatest team ever assembled. Only two players in league history have led the NBA in scoring and assists in the same season. Once again, unsurprisingly, the great Oscar Robertson is one of them, with his incredible 1968 season. Any guesses on who the second player is? It's the very underrated, often overlooked, both figuratively and literally, Nate "Tiny" Archibald in 1973. In the 2017 NBA All-Star Game, the final score was 192 to 182, which is the record for the most points ever scored in an All-Star Game, technically. The reason why I say technically is because from 1985 to 2005, Magic Johnson hosted another kind of exhibition game involving many of the NBA's All-Stars. The event took place every NBA offseason in that 20-year stretch. The event was called a Midsummer Night's Magic. It was a charity event, and among the festivities was a game involving many of the league's best players. It was basically an all-star game that was even more for the fans than your typical all-star game, which means plenty of highlights and basically no defense. On August 7, 1988, Team White, led by Clyde Drexler and Dominique Wilkins, defeated Team Blue, who had Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan. The final score was 203 to 202, a score so outrageous that the Jumbotron couldn't even display it correctly because it wasn't designed to go that high. If we were to count these events as All-Star Games, then this would be the highest scoring All-Star Game in NBA history. Phil Jackson is one of the greatest basketball minds to ever live, and he had a very close relationship with both Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, as he coached both players to all of their 11 championships. Now, we know that Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan were two of the most dedicated and hardest working athletes the game has ever seen, but in September of 2014, Phil Jackson gave his perspective in an interview with the New York Post, and he made an incredibly bold statement that I think very few people know about. Since Phil was with the Knicks at this point, he was asked if Kobe Bryant is the model for Carmelo Anthony, and Phil responded by saying, no one can approach that. I don't expect anyone to model their behavior after that. Although Kobe modeled his behavior a lot about Michael Jordan, but he went beyond Michael in his attitude towards training. And I know Michael would probably question me for saying that, but he did. There probably isn't a human being who has more personal experience on this comparison than Phil Jackson, and the fact that he point blank said that Kobe Bryant essentially has more drive than Michael Jordan has to be one of the most stunning claims that I've ever heard. Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game is arguably the greatest single performance of NBA history. Something that's interesting is that prior to that game, Wilt knew he was going to have a special night, because the arena had an arcade area, and Wilt spent time playing a game with a toy rifle, and according to Wilt, he destroyed all the high scores. That might sound like just another exaggerated story by Wilt Chamberlain, but when you consider the fact that he was a career 51.1% free throw shooter, and then he proceeded to shoot 28 of 32 from the free throw line, it certainly starts to seem like the stars had aligned for Wilt. I don't know what the odds are of a 51% foul shooter going 28 of 32 from the free throw line, but it doesn't take a genius to know that those odds are extremely low. Tim Duncan is a Hall of Famer, a 5-time champion, a 2-time MVP, 15-time All-Star, 15-time All-NBA player, and 15-time All-Defensive player. You know what else he is? A nerd. Not only was he nicknamed Mr. Spock in college, but he's also a huge fan and player of Dungeons & Dragons. So much so that he has a tattoo of Merlin on his chest and a skeletal jester on his back. In 1984, the Houston Rockets nearly formed what would have been on paper the greatest big three the league has ever seen. This takes us back to the 1984 NBA draft. Most of us hardcore basketball fans know the draft order off the top of our heads. Hakeem Olajuwon to the Rockets, then Sam Bowie to the Blazers, and then Michael Jordan to the Chicago Bulls. What many people don't realize is that there was nearly a blockbuster trade that night that would have drastically changed the course of basketball history. You see, the Houston Rockets had the first overall pick, and at the time, Hakeem Olajuwon appeared to be the clear choice to be taken first. The thing is, the Rockets already had a star starting at center, which was the future Hall of Famer Ralph Sampson, who had just come off of his rookie season where he averaged 21 points and 11 rebounds. Other teams around the league also knew that the Rockets were in a bit of a dilemma, so the Portland Trailblazers made an offer of their second overall pick and their young star in Clyde Drexler in return for Ralph Sampson. If the Rockets had accepted the offer, they would have had Clyde Drexler, the first and the second overall pick, which they almost certainly would have used to take Hakeem Olajuwon and Michael Jordan. Obviously, there's questions of fit and on-court chemistry, but at a certain point, a team has so much talent that even if they underperform by their standards, they're still likely dominating the league. With who most people consider as the greatest player of all time, one of the greatest centers of all time, and arguably a top 5 shooting guard of all time, what is a realistic projection of the success of this team? At least 10 championships? Let me know how many rings you think they would have won in the comment section. Which one of these facts do you think was the most interesting, and have you got any new facts for the rest of us? Let us know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.